welcome to another fantastic episode of the Connecting Greeks podcast. I'm Ari, and I am here with Foti Stamos. How are you, Foti?
I'm well, and yourself, Ari.
I'm doing fantastic because we got our awesome third co-host, the main man, the legend, the guy we try to grapple and get down, and we finally got him. Angelo Tsaroukas, what's up, man?
Hey, Adi. Hi, Forty. How's it going, guys? Good to be back again with you guys. We find interesting guests, and today's no exception. Again, I always say that, but it's true. And I'm gonna lead it into this because people have different ways to relax. Some read a book. Some like to jog. Not for me.
Some like to drink.
You gotta have a drink, gardening. But I'm going to tell you, for me, what I like is this. Now, it's a nice cigar. Now, there's more to this than just a cigar. The guest we're going to bring on today is the founder and president of La Vida Havana Cigars. La Vida Live Life Cigars, and I'm happy to have him on our podcast, Nicholas Syris. Hey, Nico, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much, Angelo, for that very nice introduction, and you hit it right on the money when it comes to relaxing and enjoying the finer things in life. A puro or a nice premium cigar is what brings a lot of joy to a lot of people.
Exactly. And here's the thing, Nick. Here's the thing. Now, I understand that some people will say, well, it's smoking. It's a very social aspect. And look, anything in moderation, right?
Agreed.
Drinking, it's in moderation. Now, we put the Greek factor into it. I think the word moderation, I don't think there's a Greek word for moderation. Anyparchy, I think. And how I met Nick. So this is the thing, guys, because people, when I'm on the road, guys, when I go to other cities, other countries, the connections I make mostly with people are through these things, through the cigars. And when I love the metaphor of the cigar, and that's how I met Nicholas, through a mutual friend in Los Angeles. And we ended up, we found out we're cigars. I tried Nick's cigars, which are awesome. I'm going to get to that. But the thing that I found the most was it's sometimes I could say that Nicholas is in the cigar business, but I think he'll agree he's also in the people business.
Mm-hmm.
So you're connecting, and he's had cigar lounges in the Middle East, celebrities, sheikhs, Benicio del Toro, all these people. These are the kind you'll meet Hollywood stars, you'll meet billionaires, you'll meet plumbers. Literally, that's the range of people that connect, and we like the Brotherhood of the Leaf. And Nicholas is Greek American and created the company. So, Nicholas, enough of me yapping. Tell us how you got into it, how it started, because I love the story.
Well, the first thing I got to say is, you hit upon what is my favorite quote about cigars, and that is that the cigar is the great equalizer. The cigar, it revolves around a premium cigar, but really that's just the beginning. It's about the ambiance, and it's about meeting people of all different cultures, various socioeconomic backgrounds, and we can all bond over that one experience of enjoying a cigar. Now, it's where a Greek American that can connect with friends from all over the world, as you alluded to, royals in Saudi Arabia. It's all about the cigar. And I'm sure that's what the Taino Indians, who first discovered tobacco, they had the peace pipe and they got people together. It brings people together and it bonds friendship. I hate to say it, but pretty much all my friends now, not all, but most of them all smoke cigars, or at least that's the guys that I hang out with, because it's something about bonding with that cigar. So I know it's anti-smoking and all this, but cigars to me are not about smoking. It has nothing in common with a cigarette. Let me say that first for people that don't know, because this is normally what I do is cigar podcasts, right? This is not a cigar podcast. It's a Greek podcast, right? About Greeks that are in various walks of life.
Connecting
All right,
Greeks.
So connecting Greeks. So let me tell you that, I'm in Greece every summer, and I'm very, very Greek, but it's all about connecting the cigars with people in general. But what I touched upon is for people, I know a lot of Greeks are used to, walking around with the cigarette. What cracks me up now, if you go to Greece, it's not vape. It's like this tobacco. It's combustionless tobacco, which doesn't ignite, but it's
Right.
kind of like a vape. Everybody's doing in Greece.
Hmm.
And the biggest problem in the US is you can't smoke anywhere. In Greece, you can smoke everywhere as long as it's outside. But the obsession with cigarette smoking seems to have gone to this smokeless tobacco, which is like a vaporized, but has nothing in common with a cigarette, my friends. If anybody tells you, okay, some people may not like the aroma of a cigar, but if you love cigars, that aroma does it.
Mhm.
But a cigarette, think about it. With a cigarette, you're doing the most unnatural thing in the world. And no disrespect to my cigarette friends, but you're inhaling smoke into your lungs. You're bringing the most unnatural thing in the world to bring smoke into your lungs. I don't get it. And I don't know really, I mean, it's the nicotine, but it's really about the chemicals that addict you to that nicotine. People say, well, cigars have nicotine. Yes, they do, but I could stop tomorrow. Not that I'd want to, but I would not have that physical addiction. Nicotine
Right.
is a drug. It enhances, it helps your brain, believe it or not. And again, like we said, everything in moderation, but believe me, here's what my theory, and I don't know if this to be true. Cigarette smokers, the reason they like it, and if you're a cigarette smoker, think about this. When you exhale is when you get that like that euphoria. Because
Mhm.
I think in your brain, again, doing the most natural thing is filling your lungs up with smoke. You deprive yourself of oxygen for those seconds. And then when you exhale and then you inhale, oh my God, I can breathe again. I think that's what the euphoria. Cigars are about aroma, about flavor, and again, the magical leaf that bonds people together. So that's my
100%.
Well said. Well
Yeah.
said.
No, 100%. And and you see, Nick, that's the thing. When I was doing shows in New Jersey, and I contacted Nick, and they have a special lounge that he's part of the I can't remember the name of the
the
club,
Metropolitan Cigar Society,
which
the
is one of the
oldest,
oldest
the
ones in America.
oldest, running continuous private cigar lounges in the U.S.
Wow.
And then this guy, another Greek guy, came in there, and he was talking, and this guy was funny because he showed up and he was like, "Yeah, hey Tsaruka, how are you? I'm looking for something here." They gave me. Excuse me.
Bless you.
Sneezing.
Bless.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yasu.
Thank you. Yasu. I can't let drop Capo do
You know,
That's
I
un
got,
po'
my desk
trovare.
is a mess. It's
hey
like,
Angelo, as you're doing that, can I just add
yeah,
something?
jump
Just
in,
gonna
man.
say, Nico,
Yeah.
what you're saying has hit it on the head for us between our relationship with myself, Ari, and Angelo, because
Mhm.
maybe about, I don't know, close to 18 years or plus, we decided to host Angelo to do a show in Boston.
Mhm.
And we knew Angelo from communicating from the phone and emails back then and so on. But long story short, comes to Boston, we do the show, and then after the show, Angelo like, let's go hang out. Is there a cigar bar we can hit? I've never been to a cigar bar, and
Yeah.
we ended up
Mhm.
finding a cigar bar
I,
and
I've
in Boston, right? Remember,
I've
Ari?
been to a cigar bar twice in my life, and it was with Angelo both times.
Yeah, and we ended up hitting this cigar bar in downtown Boston, and we hung out, and it was like the best time. Like,
We went twice though with him.
right,
two
and it's
times.
like
It's right. That's right.
that's where we got to bond with Angelo
Yeah, over
was in the
cigars.
cigar
Yeah.
bar.
And it's funny, guys. When I do gigs anywhere, it's like the guys because they always want to hang out, right? And I said, okay, after the show, we can hang out. I need to go to a place where I can either light a stogie, where I can
Mhm.
light one, or take me to a place where I can buy one,
Mm.
sit down and talk with you.
Yeah.
And there was like, well, we want to go to this. No, 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 no. Beforehand, we'll do this. After this is what I want to do. So if they want, so people realize, and Nick, you know this. A lot of Greek priests love the pura.
Hmm.
I'm not kidding you. I would say 85 to 90% of Greek Orthodox priests love a cigar, and good for them. It's a high pressure job, and I've smoked with a lot of them. And people, no, that's not true. It's a truth, and it's not a bad thing.
Mhm.
I think if God smokes a cigar, I'm sure he does.
Yeah. Well,
Right, Nick?
you know what a very famous person said, if they don't have cigar smoking in heaven, then I won't go. Uh, I
Amen
think
to that.
I think that was Groucho Marx,
Groucho
but
Marx or George
yeah,
Burns, one
or
of those
George
guys.
Burns, one of those guys. But you know, it really does affect your life. And for me, how I got into it, I was obsessed with it as a hobby when I first got into it, and it forced me to relax. I knew if I was going to light, depending on the size of the cigar, okay, I got 45 minutes, I got an hour that I'm going to be able to sit down, smoke the cigar, and relax. And that's what it forced me to do. Now I smoke all the time. That's another thing. But a lot of people that are out there that have never smoked a cigar probably saying, oh, I tried it. It was foul. I woke up, my mouth was disgusting. It felt terrible. What I say to those people is you probably started with the wrong cigar
Mm.
because that's the biggest problem. There's so many different cigars out there. And there's so many good cigars out there, but the key is to be given the right cigar, starting off with a very mild cigar and smoking it. Well, first of all, you don't want to inhale. That's the biggest thing, right? The last thing you
Never.
want to do is inhale it. It's all about just letting the smoke nestle in your mouth, and you get the aromas from there. And again, what makes a big difference is who you're with, the ambiance, the lounge you're in, the location. It doesn't have to be a lounge. It could be outside. It could be inside. It doesn't matter.
Anywhere.
More
Nico,
Right.
importantly, it's the people. And again, what affects the flavors of the cigar, though, is what did you have to eat right before
um,
that? What are you drinking or pairing with that cigar? All these things are factors for people that are not smoking.
I was just gonna ask that,
Yeah.
Nico, about the chemistry between the cigar and bourbon or whiskeys or cognacs. Is because whenever you see someone having a nice cigar, it's accompanied by some sort of like spirit, like scotch or
Or
whiskey. Is there
libation,
some
yes.
connection to that?
Absolutely. Depending on, I mean, but it doesn't have to be an alcoholic beverage. Believe it
Oh,
or not, anything can pair with a cigar. Again, the right flavors with the right pairings, and they do all kinds of tests, and they do these events where they'll pair a specific cognac, scotch, rum, with a cigar, and it enhances the flavor. It's really the energy of both cigars that kind of mesh together and become one, and it just enhances it. It's like
mm.
two times two doesn't become four, becomes 400 because it
Mm.
enhances both flavors. So it really is important. But I like to have, Diet Coke. I got into this kick with
Greek
Diet Coke, which
coffee.
is oh,
Coffee's
I
good.
love,
Yes, very good.
I'm a big espresso guy, and going in Greece, that's the other thing I love. Outside in Greece, man, you can have
Right.
your espresso anywhere, and you can smoke a cigar. And I'm always very cognizant when I'm outside or smoking around to not offend people. In Greece, most places, even in the United States where you can smoke outside, they're really talking about a cigarette. When you light up a cigar, people start flipping out on you. In Greece, I'm like, is it okay if I smoke this cigar? Well, you see an ashtray there, don't you? Well, like, I'm like,
What a Greek
yeah,
answer.
but like, yeah, it's a typical, and I'm like, oh, and they don't bother you, they don't care. I love that. I hope that doesn't change, but things are changing
Well,
slowly everywhere.
Nick, when I was in Greece, good point, Forty. I was at a taverna, I think it was Rhodos. I think it was 3 days and I piece. I go to Diplometrio, Greek coffee. And he sees me pulling out my stogie. He comes, and this is the difference. And Nick's right about that. He comes over with an ashtray, puts it on the table. No,
Yeah.
no, you teacup knees, you teacup none of that shit. It did it like that. But
Can, can I ask just a couple of
sure.
I'm not an expert by any means. I'm a total newbie, but just
That's all right.
some
I'm
stuff
here
that
to
like uh
enlighten and educate.
right.
Go
So
ahead.
just a couple of questions.
Yeah.
Women, do you guys see any sort of trend with more women, less women, or has it always been the same with women and cigars? Is it something that is uptrending? Like I've always
Yes.
wondered if women enjoy a nice cigar.
Yes, lately, especially the trend. First of all, as long as I've been smoking, which is right about 30 years now, um, there's women that will come up to you. Ah, that reminds me of my grandfather, that
Yeah,
aroma
yeah, yeah,
of my father. And it has, for a lot of people, a fond memory. It's all about memories. Unfortunately, there's a lot of people come up and go, that stinks too. You get those people too. I'm not
Yeah,
saying they don't
yeah.
exist, but there's a lot worse. To me, I mean, I'm not a marijuana smoker. I don't care for the smell of cannabis. And you go into the city today, right, where you go over through the tunnel or the bridge, man, that's all you smell. And you can smoke that
True.
anywhere, but
True.
God forbid you light up a cigar. I don't want to even touch that. But to get to your question about women, it's a big trend actually in the last few years. They formed all these, they call it Sisters of the Leaf as opposed to Brothers of the Leaf. It's a big trend. Groups, listen. Lounges sometimes can be a little bit misogynistic. They're a little bit men oriented. It shouldn't be. And if a woman should feel welcome to walk into a lounge or a store to buy, because it's not, it shouldn't be a sexist type of thing. But generally, cigars have been, associated with, white old men. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? And but
Yeah.
now, you have the Black American community that's really embraced it, and that's become a big market for cigars, and also women. It's growing very, very. I mean, slowly but surely, and I like to see that.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome.
It's
And
true.
then,
Oh,
sorry,
sorry. Art.
just one more question.
One more.
So somebody, so somebody who doesn't know much about cigars, but I've always heard Cuban cigars are the best cigars. Is that like a legend, or is that rooted in reality, or is that something that has been changing because there are cigars that are getting better that aren't Cuban? Or am I just
All,
totally off?
all the above. Everything you said is true. Is it legend? Yes. Why is it legend? Everybody wants what they can't have, right?
Good
Because
point.
Cuba is still kind of someplace we can't go and we cannot buy Cuban products. Because we can't have it, all of a sudden the forbidden fruit becomes
Mm,
more desirable.
good
But
point.
does it have great tobacco? Absolutely. It's a very unique taste. And you have to remember that 90% of the world outside of the US used to only smoke Cuban cigars. And they used to view anything that wasn't a Cuban. I've seen this over the last, 20 years that I've been in this business. It's like, oh, that's a fake cigar. It's not Cuban. Well, it's not fake, just because it doesn't have Cuban tobacco. I'm talking about overseas. And then they went to, oh, everything was Dominican. Now it's getting a little bit more trendy. They're calling it New World because the old world being Cuba was the birthplace of cigars, the birthplace of tobacco. And yes, the other part of it is other cigars have gotten so much better. When everybody was forced to leave, the Cubans that were in the tobacco industry, most of them left right after the embargo. When they came to the U.S., they went to Dominican, tried their hand there. Now Nicaragua has become the new focal point of where cigars are being made. But in the beginning, they were figuring it out because they were using the formulas from Cuba. But every
Oh,
country is different, every leaf is different, and there's so much involved. I don't know if you ever heard the term, but it takes 300 hands, touches to make from seed, to actual shelf. There's some it's a tradition, old school everything. There's no machines being used. If anybody knows the cigar rollers that are rolling the cigars, the fermentation process, the aging, there's so many steps. If anybody does know, there's a lot of information out there on YouTube and videos, and by all means, ask your local tobacconist. It's a huge, I mean, we can go and talk about it for a long, long time. I do seminars on this type of thing. But what I will say is the non-Cuban cigar now has come to the level. And is it, people go, well, now Cubans aren't that good anymore, this and that and all this. Look, I'm not going to get into the debate of which is better. But I will say this: Cuban cigars have a very unique taste that cannot be duplicated. You can come close, you can have the essence, Cubanesque, they like to call it, but no, the Cuban leaf is different. And it's not about the seeds. A lot of people go, oh, this is Cuban seed. No, the seed has nothing to do with it. It's all about the soil. It's all about where it's
Homa.
planted. Yeah, and they use natural fertilizer, and it's funny because to turn it around to the Greek thing. My parents, my grandparents were all tobacco farmers in Greece.
Ah,
And the Metastremata, Takapna. And I used to go back every summer as a kid, and I used to help sort the leaves and this and that. Now, my parents, I don't know about most Greeks, I would think, and Andrew, I loved the joke about the president that became the Greek that became president, and then, hey, but his brother's a doctor.
a
Well,
doctor.
I was told since the age of I can remember, you're going to be a doctor. You got to be a doctor. I was supposed to be a doctor and nothing else. Nothing else I did. I've been an entrepreneur my whole life. My dad wasn't really a happy camper with that because I was supposed to be a doctor. All my Greek relatives that live in Greece, guess what? They're all doctors. I broke the mold. I came here. I didn't become a doctor, but it's still, I believe, in my blood. You know what I mean? And now the kapna and the stuff they grow in Greece, it's what they call negro tobacco, black tobacco, but it's not the same level. It's more for cigarettes. The tobacco that is used in cigars is another level. And from what country it comes from makes a difference. And that's what imparts the flavors. And then it's all about the blending process. And it's like, it's like a cook. He makes a blend of something, and that's why you can have something mild with these types of flavors and those types of notes, and versus something that's very peppery, strong, and so you have the full gambit. So there's a lot of great cigars out there to try.
So Nick, who was the guy when we were sitting in your lounge that gave me this? I want you guys to see this. It's
Yeah,
an Alas
That's
cigar
yeah.
band. And I was sitting there, and the guy goes, "Hey, you're Nick's friend." I think he was Italian, that guy.
Yeah, his name is Dominic. He's one of my dear
Dominic.
cigar buddy and
And here,
friends.
guys, he gives me this Alas brand, and I kept the.
How was it?
I kept. It was a cigar.
I'm saying, was it good?
It was good. I smoked it. I kept the because I thought this is interesting. I've never seen that, and it's interesting. This guy right away because he sees me talking to Nick, and we're Greek. I didn't say nothing to the guy. His next goes up. He goes, "Here, this is for you," and he hands it to me. This Alas cigar. We're
Yeah.
Greek. I was making them.
That's awesome.
There's not many Greeks in this business. There are a few. I will say that there are a few. There was a brand out there called Zophos, which is the short blade that the Spartans
Right.
used to carry.
Mm.
And there's another guy, Greek. I mean, I was born in Greece, but this guy lived in Greece his whole life. Then he moved to Nicaragua, married a Nicaraguan, and got into the cigar business. His name is Andreas. He's, one of these guys doesn't ever want to be in the spotlight. But he makes pretty good cigars himself. I really like his stuff. And then there's me, and there might be some others. There's definitely a lot of shop owners, Greek shop
Right.
owners that own cigar shops.
But you're the
But
only
not
guy
so-
I know with a brand that I know.
Yeah, there's a few. There's like two or three, but I'd like to be, because I have a podcast. I'm always talking about it. I started in radio. I had a radio show on ESPN Radio, and now I do a podcast called Simply Stogies, which is all about cigars. We interview all the different brand owners, and I like, spreading the gospel according to tobacco. And it's enlightening, and I think it's something, any hobby, the more you know about it, the more you want to do it, the more it interests you. And that's just my personality. What I first, I remember, like, look, I didn't smoke cigars when I was even in college because somebody gave me some crappy cigars, and I'm like, what is this? But the first time somebody gave me something that I was like, oh, wait a minute. That's what we call in the industry your first aha moment. And then when you're going, aha, okay, I get this. And that's where it starts. So what did I do? I ran to the local bookstore at the time. It was B. Dalton's. They were long gone. And I bought every book that I could find on cigars. And then on the way out, I bought them on the way out. There's a little magazine stand. And I happened to look across, and there's a magazine, and it says cigar right on the top. And it just so happened, and this is how I remember when I started smoking cigars, there's a very famous magazine in the industry called Cigar Aficionado.
Oh.
And the inaugural issue came out in 1992 that month. And I'm like, what? They have magazines about cigars? I never knew that. So I picked up the magazine, I read it cover to cover, and I was hooked. Because what that magazine tries to convey, and what cigars, what do they represent? The finer things in life, the good times, opulence in some regard. But here's the bottom line. They have these millionaires and billionaires that are smoking cigars and everything else. And you could say, hey, listen, they may have big yachts. They may have all the finest exotic cars. But you know what? I can smoke the same cigar that they're smoking.
Mhm.
The cigars now, they've gotten pretty expensive. There's some cigars, the real range is, like from like $12, $13 on the low side for a good premium cigar, all the way up to 20, 30, 40. There's $100 cigars now. They're becoming kind of somewhat popular. And then if you talk about those Cuban cigars, now those are going for $800, $1,000. And that's why a lot of these non-Cuban brands are really breaking ground overseas. Like I started in the Middle East because I got involved in my previous life. I was in the electronics business. I was a tech guy, and I got involved with the royal family of Saudi Arabia, and I was doing humidors. I mean, humidors. I was doing theaters and multi-room systems and all that. But the guy that I became good friends with was the Crown Prince's son, and he was a cigar guy. And we bonded over cigars, and he just wanted to be friends. And I hung out. We had a 20, 30-year relationship of just being good friends over that cigar leaf. And then
Wow.
when it was time to close that chapter of my life in 2008 with the economy and everything, I'm like, I did this electronics for about 20 years. Boy, I'd love to do cigars, but I didn't know how to break into the business. I was around it. And this prince said to me, hey, why don't you open up a cigar lounge here in the Middle East? And me with another good friend who was his assistant, we opened up a cigar lounge called La Vida Havana, and in Riyadh. So the idea is to bring the Havana lifestyle, the life of Havana into the desert of Saudi Arabia, and then the brand LH Premium Cigars, which is the name of my brand, kind of evolved from that. LH stands for La Vida Havana, and then I was selling to mainly the Middle East initially, and then it went from there, and it was predominantly overseas, but as an American, I said, you know what? Not that this country needs another cigar brand because there's 5 million cigar brands out there. I knew I had a good product and I wanted to let people, experience it. And so now it's, been available in the United States for the last 10 years and overseas for a bit longer.
Wow.
But Nick, it's interesting you said when you said earlier, I've had cigars when somebody has a baby, have a cigar. Somebody gets married, have a cigar. I've
Right.
been to a funeral
Celebratory, yeah.
of our mutual friend who unfortunately had passed away from other reasons, and we all went had a cigar to so I also associate it with and the camaraderie and friendship. And I've smoked many of Nicholas's cigars, the La Vida Havanas, which are awesome. And like I said, for me, this is something I'm not like 40. I'm not going to go to a club after or try to slick my hair.
Excuse me.
I want to go. I want to go and just chill out. And anybody knows this. And for me, this is my way to go chill out is with these things. And like I said, you're right. If I'm out with smoke for 2 or 3 days, I'm not withdrawal or anything like that.
It's
But
not a physical addiction. It really isn't.
no, it's not anymore. I like the
It's a
parea.
desirable. You
Yeah.
want it, like
Right.
I always do. But cigars celebratory. There's a lot of people that only smoke on the golf course or
Right,
whenever they
Yeah.
get together with
right, right.
friends. And then there's people that are complete degenerates like myself that smoke almost every day. And there's a lot of people, and it's not for everybody. But like I said, and they've done tests. They've done that they don't really publicize so much because it doesn't go with what the rhetoric is that all tobacco is bad.
Right.
They've shown that if you have 1 to 2 cigars a day, there is no noticeable difference. And they've done year-long processes, 10, 20 years, and there's not. Again, everybody's different. Everybody has their resistance to tobacco, anything else. There are some people that keep it on their mouth the whole time. I think they have a higher chance of, there is a little chance of like oral type thing, but not really. You get checked, there's nothing there. But here's the funny thing. Some people never had 1 cigarette in their life and they develop lung cancer.
Right.
There's some people that smoke 4 packs a day and their lungs are clear. There's some people that smoke, 1 pack for 10 years and then they develop lung cancer. Everybody has a different resistance. What I'm saying is that not that cigars are risk-free, but in moderation, they don't risk. And the good outweighs. Even doctors will say, hey, for your heart, maybe you should. No, you know what? It makes you relax. It brings down the stress level.
It does.
The good outweighs any potential risks that could be involved with
So
tobacco.
at the end of the day, just enjoy your life, enjoy your cigar, and don't worry about what's going to happen because anything could happen to anybody at any time.
That's
Just
true.
have fun.
If it becomes part of your life, I so much believe it can enhance anybody's life at some level. Even if it's just the camaraderie of friendship with people, meeting new people, there is something magical about that tobacco leaf that brings people together So
Wow.
I encourage people to try cigars if they haven't.
So
Well,
if you never had a cigar, can you
Mm.
guys give any recommendation on how to start, where to start? Like what's the best like process to kind of try to get into it?
Well, what you first have to figure out is how much time you have.
Mhm.
If you're going to be there an hour, but if you're starting out, maybe you should start anyway with a smaller cigar so you don't get too much. And then you want to have a very mild cigar. And mild cigar because it would have less nicotine. Now, cigars, all cigars are fermented to remove most of the excess the fermentation process removes most of the excess ammonia and nicotine. But there
Mm.
is always a little bit of, and that's why when there's strength, there's flavor strength, and then there's like strength versus nicotine. So you want to have a mild cigar. What I recommend anybody doing is if they walk into their local tobacconist, their shop, say, look, this is my first time. I would like something mild. Don't even worry about what flavor profiles and this and that, because at that point, it's just going to taste like smoke to you.
Yeah.
The reality is.
relevant.
But once you understand it, you let it nestle in your palate again. Don't let it, inhale by no means. You leave it there for a second and you blow. You don't smoke very fast, usually one puff per every 30 to 1 minute, just enough to get the smoke in your mouth. And then there's advanced techniques afterwards where you actually for the seasoned cigar smokers will know this. It's called retrohaling, and that's allowing the smoke to go only up into your nasal cavity because you have all these little feli and stuff in there that picks up more on the nuances and the notes. And that's why when
Mm.
people say, "Oh, there's hints of caramel or creamy or this and that," your tongue only can pick up sour, sweet, bitter, those types of flavors.
Wow.
But a good combination will make your mouth water and you get that, oh, I get it. And then you got to land on a cigar that you like. There's a lot of great mild cigars out there. But if you go in there and just pick one up, and generally people associate the darker cigars with the stronger cigars, not necessarily true, but generally that seems to be what people have done. And it's true. But what a Maduro, and that means, mature or dark in Spanish, is normally associated with being a stronger cigar. But ideally, you go with the Connecticut shade or a very light wrapper, and it's a milder cigar. Smoke it slow. Don't overdo it your first time. And if you smoke the right one, like the ones that I have, in my Claro right over here, this is my Connecticut shade. It's going to have enough flavor, and it's not going to have that. Oh my God! Now the reality is, if you've never smoked cigars, you're going to feel it. You're
Mhm.
going to feel it a little bit, but how much you feel it is how good the tobacco is, how long it's been aged, how long it's been fermented. A
Mm.
good smooth cigar is not going to get that. With my cigar specifically, you could have 3, 4 day, more if you want, and you don't feel it in the back of the throat. And me, even after smoking as many as I do for as many years as I have, if I smoke a really strong cigar and I wake up the next day going, oh man, I can tell that that tobacco was not processed properly, that it wasn't fermented right, and you're
Right.
going to feel it in the back of your throat.
Wow.
So,
Right. Well,
Fascinating.
look, man, this has been great. Um, we're so happy that you came on today,
we didn't
Nicholas.
talk about anything Greek. I
I
love
know
my
it's
Greek.
okay, but
No,
I
listen,
that
love my
was
Greek heritage. I really do, and I'm trying to bring that into the cigar business. I have cigars now with Greek names. I have a cigar called Sophos, which is wisdom, because the shape of the cigar is called a Solomon. So I have that.
right.
My name is Nick or Nikos. So I have a cigar called Nick and Nikos,
I've had it.
Nicolas. All those.
Now, can I make a
Um,
suggestion?
yes, go
I
ahead.
think it'd be a great name for a cigar. Maybe we can break it on connecting
Sure.
Parea.
Ah,
Parea, which is
I like
company.
that.
Company,
Parea.
sure.
Parea, right, Nick? I'm thinking
Yeah,
Parea because when you smoke cigars, you have Parea. You have your
right.
people with you.
Your people.
But the
Eh,
Parea cigar, I'm just bullshitting here now. We're just,
yeah, but that's a good idea.
Yeah, I'm trying to really. I mean, my cigars originally, everybody thought I was, from the Middle East. When I'm Greek, I could pass for Middle Eastern, I could pass for Cuban. As a Greek, we fit many different roles. But but I always want to bring, the Greek ethnicity, and it's funny because my last name, when I my parents came to the United States when I was 2 years old. My name used to be Syris Statidis, which was 12 letters long and a little bit
Wow.
difficult for the non-Greeks able to pronunciate. So when I got into business, when I was like 17, 18 years of age, I changed it to Syris, Syris. And
Still
what I
Greek?
love about that is it still sounds Greek. People will go,
Mm.
"Oh, Syris, is that Greek?" Oh, why, yes, it is.
Mm.
This way they remember it. And at the same time, I lopped off 7 letters. My dad wasn't so happy, but
Yeah.
you know, I'm not trying to hide the ethnicity. I'm actually trying to promote it. And
That's
How about
especially
this cigar, Nick? The Hadzi Papa Constantinopoulos cigar. That fucking band will go around 4 or 5 times.
Papa Vermopoulos Damastopoulos. Yeah, there's
Yeah, I just
more
like
letters
that.
in a Greek name than we know what to do with.
Well, look, this has
Yeah.
been great, Nick. Thanks for coming on the
Hey,
podcast.
thanks for having me on, man.
Oh,
Anytime.
for
I
sure, man.
love
I
to.
told
We
you I
got to do
wanted
it
to come on,
again.
and we smoke
Absolutely,
again.
anytime.
And it's a La Vida Havana Cigars LH.
It's known as LH Premium. The LH stands for La Vida Havana, but right now it's La Vida Havana or LH Premium Cigars. To find me on the web or on Instagram or any of my socials, very simple. LH Cigars. And even the website, guess what that is? LHcigars.com. Hit me
Except
up
for
with
me
a
today.
message.
I
Oh
put
yeah.
IH when I said it to Adi. He goes, "Hey, this email's not working because stupid me, I and L looks the same."
Yeah.
This is great. It's so fascinating to learn about this type of stuff. You know, we do a lot of stuff with wine, and there's so many parallels to.
Great. Oh, that's one thing we never touched upon. A lot of people talk about cigarettes and cigars, nothing in common. Wine and cigar making, so much,
Right,
so
right,
much.
right.
Two things you can be very passionate about. I also like wine, and there's so much in that's a whole nother, conversation.
Yeah, we should do another
But
segment.
yes.
Wine
Yeah.
and cigars.
Right.
Yep.
That'll be so
There you
cool.
go.
Well, thank you so much, Nick. We appreciate your
Thank you
time.
very
We
much, guys.
appreciate all that knowledge
Pleasure.
and information you bring to it. I was completely fascinated because I don't really know that much, and I love learning about it. And you know, you're such a good speaker, and you made it so interesting. And I know the audience would love it too. So thank you once again. Thank you, Angela and
again.
Potti. Thanks everybody out there for watching and listening. And check out Nick and his brand and his stores and his cigars and everything. We'll have the information in the show notes. And thanks everybody. Thanks once again. We'll see you next time.
Yes.
Bye, guys. Yes.